would say that 50% of them do. I don't know that they do it as frequently as I do, but it became a habit. It was one of those things that whenever it was early on every year, I added something new to try and see if that worked. And so it has been incredibly beneficial. I've been doing it for 15 years now.
Hey, gang, it's Ryan Surratt, your host of Agent X Factor podcast. And today I am pumped up because we have the Holly Fitzgerald here, who is the broker of East Texas Preferred Properties. Holly, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. It is Monday and we are off and running.
That's right. That's right. It's a great Monday. It feels like a Tuesday for me for some reason, but it's a great Monday. So So let me ask, if you don't mind. So how did you get started in the real estate business? Because you're brokering an office now, or you're the broker of an office, and you're a producing real estate agent yourself as well, very successful. So what got you in the business, and how long have you been doing it?
Okay. Well, it's a fun little story is I whenever my kids were little, as they were just entering into school, I was like, what do I need to do with my world? And so the options were to either be a hairdresser, which you see my hair, so that was not the best option, or to get into real estate because I always enjoyed, the process of going through properties and seeing properties. I had moved multiple times growing up, and it was of interest to me. And so I earned my real estate license in 2006. And so I'm readily approaching that 20-year mark in the business. And anyway, it took off. I originally worked for a builder, a local builder, and we did a lot of stuff together. Then moved on to another builder and then went to brokerages, kind of learned what I liked, what I didn't like. And then whenever the opportunity arose with my best friend to jump into East Texas Preferred Properties, and be the Tyler broker, then I jumped in with her, and history has written itself from our little adventure.
That is that is fantastic. I love it. 20 years almost. I imagine
Yep.
you've seen the market change a little
Yeah.
bit in that time period.
Oh, just a few times. Yes. I've seen a lot of changes. And I'll say that our current market is the probably the oddest market that I have ever experienced, just because it's pretty cyclical and you can kind of plan what's going on and what's going to happen. And then there are other, there are other. This is not it. This is not it. It's a little different this time. So we're just
Sure.
kind of collecting all of the knowledge that I've received over the years, and then speaking with several of my mentors and other brokers, and agents across the state as well as the country, just to see what they're experiencing and what things have been effective for them, in helping their sellers as well as their buyers as we're kind of in this unprecedented situation.
Ye- Yeah, definitely. I would say it's a wonky market. Is
Yeah.
we're dated a little bit October 2023. So what are you telling? I mean, what are you telling agents that are in your office? What are you giving them as advice to be successful, or maybe just survive this market?
Just a bit. Well, we hope to thrive. That's kind of what
That's
our
right.
goal is. Yes, we hope to thrive. And this is just one of those that you kind of, you work through it. So one of the things that I have gone over with them multiple times is just our business is more successful if you are in a relational position with your clients, and with their friends, their family. So reaching back out to everybody that we've worked with over the last several years, I do that once a month. That actually went out today, is my monthly newsletter to let them know what's going on. Um, and in that, just reaching out, talking to people, their team. So whoever they use for lending, if they use it for home warranty, their electricians, painters, plumbers, like who are they running into, and how can we help as far as real estate
Mm,
goes? Because people start calling because they want to fix up the house before they put it on the market, and you never know where that next lead's going to come from. And so, kind of hitting the ground, um, doing that relational conversation, and just seeing where that progresses to. So it's been, for me, the last 2 weeks have been insanely productive, which is wonderful. But lots of listings coming on. My buyers have been a little bit quiet, but I'm still reaching out, sending them what I'm finding. It's just a matter of them pulling the trigger, and they're a little tentative and hesitant at the moment. Um, so that's one of
sure.
the things. Another thing that we have been talking about, which I'm so excited that you're going to get to come visit the office and talk to them about what you can do to help us. Um, but talking about, the assumable mortgages, um, that if it is assumable, it may be one of those great things for them to utilize as we kind of, filter through. Um, did you lose me?
I'm still with you. This,
Okay, good.
well,
Just checking. Little technical difficulty there.
we
Um,
we got a couple of technical difficulties on our audio today, don't we? So,
we,
but we're gonna make it work.
if we just flow with it, that's what we do.
That's
Um,
right. This is real and authentic,
yes.
not whitewashed here. So,
No, no. And
so,
so
so
we've been talking about that. We've been talking about doing rate buy downs. Just some different ways of conducting business while it's still beneficial to both the seller and the buyer.
that is fantastic. It sounds like you're being strategic with your approach to influence past clients, and I love that about a monthly newsletter.
Yes.
Do other agents in your office do that? I have not actually found an agent who actually is doing it. Talked about it,
Who's
but not
actually
doing it.
doing? Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
they
yeah.
yeah. So I would say that 50% of them do. I don't know that they do it as frequently as I do, but it became habit. It was one of those things that whenever it was early on every year, I added something new to try and see if that worked. And so it has been incredibly beneficial. I've been doing it for 15 years now. And so I send it out every
Huh.
month. And in it, I have little tidbits of either fixing up your house, getting it ready to sell, curb appeal, latest styles, um, lending things that you can do in the marketplace. So that's something that has been coming up more frequently that they ask, that my clients have asked about. And so I try to address a little bit of that in,
Hmm.
and encourage conversation, communication, and it's amazing how many of them reach out. Another thing that I put in there is I have 2 featured listings that I put in every month just so that they're aware, like, these houses are available if you're looking. And then in the last portion of my newsletter, I always insert something that's going on with me personally, just because over a transaction, we get to know one another, and they get to know me as a person, not just me as a realtor. And I get to know them as people too, and what goes on with their world, and keep up with it on social media and that sort of thing. So
Huh.
I don't post a lot of personal on social media. So whenever I do, it's like this big reaction. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to know that you're still watching. Um, but
That's
I use
excellent.
it more for business than I do for personal. But it's really nice to kind of have that conversation and let them know what's going on. And so during 2020, I was letting them know, the weird things that we had to do during COVID, as far as being able to see houses, how we could do that, or, what the requirements were, and just bracing them for that, as well as talking, coaching sellers on being ready and having it ready to go, and the things that we needed. So it's been very beneficial. It's amazing how many of them I hear back from. I had two of them reach out and go, "We need to go do lunch in the next couple weeks." I was like, "Perfect." So, yeah.
Wow. That, that's incredible. So your newsletter, and just to kind of recap, so it has tidbits on buying or selling,
Yes.
featured listings. It
Mhm.
also has um, personal details about you, little info about you,
Yeah,
I love it. I think that's great. Now, do you write this yourself, or do you have a
I
team
do.
that does it? If you don't mind, you write it.
I do it myself. I do it myself every month. I have
Wow.
a monthly
Now
date with
that's
myself
impressive.
to sit down
That is,
and do it on my own, just so that it's current, so everybody knows
yeah.
what's going on with me.
Well, I think that for an agent who's listening, I think that's a great takeaway right there. I mean, that's an aha. That's what I call them. So that's a golden nugget right there. Just to, do a newsletter. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's monthly, however you can do it, but something that just keeps you in front of your past clients, and
Yes.
that's awesome. Now you mentioned
Yeah.
social.
Mhm.
Are you utilizing social media much in your business, or do you use the
Oh,
newsletter,
yes.
I guess, more?
I use social media every day. So my listings, I put them up on a daily. I have them on a rotation. I also do a group of listings. So normally that goes out twice a month. And just, put them out there, because you never know who's going to see it and what format and is going to work for them. And so I try multiple different things to keep it fresh, but every day I put that
Hmm.
out there. So I post twice a day, once in the morning. That would be me personally posting, and then I use this special little app called Buffer app to post in the evening for me. But those are all vetted. All of the articles are uploaded and vetted by me before I put them out there. So it's still me, but I'm using an app to do it.
That's excellent. Excellent. Just leveraging technology.
Yes.
So I think that's
Yes.
great. So what are you telling you're a successful agent. You've served a lot of clients. What are you telling some of the newer agents in this market? I mean, how could they grow their business? People who are just getting in, how can they be growing their business now, would you say?
Okay, so I'm old school. Because
I love it. I
that's
love it. Me too.
because how I started is how I still do business. So I started out with I had a lot more time on my hands than I currently do whenever I first started. And so
Got it.
I did a newsletter for my neighborhood, and I would walk
Oh,
it to their
wow.
houses and put it in their door. And once a month, they got a printed newsletter for me. And the cool thing was is that I knew the neighborhood. Like I knew which house they were calling about if they wanted to list it or if they were trying to make improvements on it. I knew what color the front door was. Like I knew if they had dogs. It was one of those fun
Sure.
things, but I also incorporated it because my kids grew up with me doing this. And so I enlisted their assistance, and then they got some sort of prize after we completed our task of putting all of those newsletters out. But it was
Wow.
also, they were learning how to do it from the ground up. Um, so we start that's one of the things I encourage, because you are in your neighborhood where you live, everything about that neighborhood, you live there. So start there. Then if you want to branch out and do some other, marketing, advertising, outreach, that's great. But that was one of the ways that I started off. And then another thing that I've been encouraging them to do is I've studied Brian Buffini for many, many years,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize this was one of the things in his list. So whenever I first listened to him, I was like, oh my gosh, I was already doing that. That's awesome. But it is pop buys. So you pop by to people and give them a little treat of something. So one of my
Hmm.
first ones I did was popcorn and put a little note on there with my business card and said, just popping by to say hi. Let me know if you have any real estate needs. Um, and it progressed from there. Like it was always so dorky. The thing,
That
the
kind of
little
works though,
the
actually.
little the little sayings that I would come up with and the little treats that I would leave for them, but it was not asking, it's asking for business without pressuring for business. And so I went to the people that were most likely to do a referral to me. So like my checkout people at the grocery store, because I would go to the grocery store all the time with kids. That's what happens. So my checkout people, the bad guys, then there was a bank that was inside. So they had people that would come through all the time. So I'd stop and drop them one. I have some relationships with some larger companies in Tyler. And so I would just stop by their recruiting office and give them little treats, just just saying hey, staying in front of them without badgering or bombarding, because I am much more of a passive marketer than I am
Sure, sure.
in
Yeah.
your
Well,
face. So that's something that I have encouraged my agents to do, especially the new ones that are starting off, is just you've got to start somewhere. So start with what you know, start with who you know, and reward them for sending you business. I mean, you can do likewise, and I'm sure that they have, especially if they're in their sphere.
that that's incredible. I mean, there's like three or four different ideas just right there. The walk in the newsletter, knowing your neighborhood,
Mhm.
the pop buys. I love that. Those are, they can be corny, but still, it works. The corny works.
Yeah, the cornier they were, the more that, they were like, "We're looking forward to our giggle." So they you know, so it was really
uh,
fun. I mean, it was something that I enjoyed doing, and again, I would set I that's something that I work with them on, is setting that time frame. Like, if you're gonna market, then set your hour, and that's like your do not disturb hour of, "I'm gonna get these things done," and it becomes habit. So after a while, all of it becomes habit, but until it becomes habit, you need to make an appointment with yourself to do those things.
uh,
So it's working through that in a big way.
I'm so sorry about our IT issues here. Is this? Can you still hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
This is a fun interview, Holly. I'm enjoying this. So, uh, so you're saying time block is really
Mhm.
important for an agent, especially to
Always.
um, be successful. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so what are some challenges, I guess, in your business? Well, before I go there, I got to ask. Okay, so you were a few months back um, selling real estate in two different countries, correct?
That's correct. Yes, I was.
Can you
Yes,
can
I
you
was.
elaborate a little bit on that? That was pretty neat.
Yeah, so, I was fortunate enough to be interviewed for a position. One of my friends said, "Hey, you need to interview for this," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Because I was I interviewed for an on-site broker position for a new development on Roatan, Honduras, and they interviewed me, and I was looking at it going, okay, so the first one, the one before me went long, and I knew that they were doing multiple interviews. And then mine was only like 20 minutes. And I was like, they are so not calling me back. Um, and I was like, okay, whatever. It'll be fun if it works. So anyway, ended up that they hired me. And so my husband and I moved to Roatan, Honduras for 6 months and got back this summer, and I hit the ground running. I was still conducting business stateside, but of course, I'm not boots on the ground, so I couldn't really show houses like you normally do. Um, So I got to enlist the help of my agents, and they got a whole lot of experience while I was gone. But I learned a whole lot about being able to work remotely. Didn't know I had that in me, but
Hmm.
it was very successful. Nice to know, nice to learn about that. It was nice to know that if I needed to pick up and move and go somewhere else, that I could, and I could make friends and make a second home relatively quickly, because I had 2 weeks to get my life in order and get down there. So it was, yeah, it was a challenge, but it was wonderful. And I was selling condominiums for the developer there, and so we had a successful project, and it's still continuing. They've got a lot of different building going on and a lot of opportunity in that area currently.
Hmm. Wow. Wow. That is a huh. So let me ask. Let's dive into that real quick. Um,
Sure.
that sounds like a really neat thing to be able to do. So the working remotely as a real estate agent, what did you learn that might be helpful for others to know about that? Because that I would think would be difficult to work remotely as a real estate agent.
It's interesting. Wi-Fi is important. That's like the number one.
Hmm.
I became the queen of technical difficulties whenever I was there. Did a lot of Zoom, a lot of FaceTime, a lot of email and text communication. One of the ways that they communicate there best is through WhatsApp. And so I learned how to use the ins and out of that. And it was kind of cool because you could send videos and stuff, and it's private, and I still use WhatsApp with them because I keep up with the people that I met there. Um, but working remotely was really it kind of, because of the habits that I've developed over time, it wasn't that hard. The hardest thing is when you are dealing with multiple time zones. So setting a meeting and paying attention to what time you were supposed to be on the meeting was really fun, especially the first couple times, because I had people that were on East Coast, I had people that were on West Coast, and sometimes I had people that were in Europe. And we just had to find a time that worked for everybody to get on a call and go through the information that we had available to us.
Wow. Wow. Uh, huh. That is fascinating. And so now you were using all that to sell there and in stateside.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh. Huh.
Sure,
Well, that's pretty
sure
neat.
was.
So you didn't have to, did you have, I guess you just would have team members here, like you said, show a client, open a door, whatever the case may be, show them
Mhm.
around, and you would help be an advisor and talk to them about how to structure deals. And yeah, that's,
Exactly, and then I did the paperwork. Thank goodness the majority of all of our stuff is online, and so I was able to write up contracts, get everything. I would always send it beforehand to make sure it was correct before we started signing, which is just good practice anyway. But sent that over, and then I would submit it, and we would just see how the ball would roll, and I'd communicate with the other agents, and really didn't miss a whole lot of beats very often.
wow, that's really fascinating. And I would bet that has taken you maybe to like a new level in your business, learning all those technologies, using them, and huh. I mean, really,
Seeing how
it kind of really
effective.
opens you up. Yeah, yeah, that's great. Well, let me ask this. We're getting close to the time here, and so let me ask. So, if you're an agent wanting to grow your business in this market,
Mhm.
what would you
Yes.
say? I mean, whether it's a new agent, whether it's agent that's seasoned, but they're just for whatever reason not seeing results, what do you think the one thing they could do is to just really get some deals in here soon? They got to put bread on the table.
Right. So it is persistence. It is
Mm.
consistent persistence, um, reaching out to people and letting them know. The worst thing that a realtor can hear is somebody go, "I didn't know you were a realtor." If they don't know, then you're not doing what you need to do. Um, and so it is that promotion. It is, acknowledging whenever somebody sends you a client, making sure that you reward them with something like just keeping them in the loop and keeping them updated. But really, it is just persistently letting people know I am a realtor. These are the things I have to bring to the table. This is what I can do to help you. And that's what I'd encourage because it'll take off and we go through seasons and cycles. So it's not a steady progression of business all the time until you get to a certain level and then you have steady business. But it takes about 5 years uh, before you really
Mm.
get to that point of leveling off where you know you're going to have something coming um, in the future instead of what's in your hand right now.
That is I think that's a great encouragement. Be consistent in your persistence,
Yes.
and wow, Holly, you just have some great information. I mean, you're just my whole notepad is full of info that you've given me and nuggets and tips. And so this is definitely a great interview for agents that are new to go back and listen to pull out. I love the newsletter, knowing your neighborhood, doing the pop buys, going and being strategic with your time, and that's awesome. So
Yeah.
thank you for being a
Thank
guest today.
you. Thank you
And
for
is
having
there any
me.
I'm my pleasure. Anything that we should add before we wrap up?
Well, I would like to add that it is always fun to work with you, Ryan. You do a great
Well, thank
job.
you.
The communication and teamwork, it is truly a team effort whenever you are going through a transaction and working with mutual clients. And it is always a pleasure to work with somebody that's knowledgeable and that I call it, you don't have to babysit. So
Hmm.
knowing that work's getting done without having to stay on top of people is a wonderful thing. And you, sir, do a very good job at that. And so I appreciate you.
Thank you, Holly. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. Well,
Yes.
and to our listeners, I did not pay Holly to endorse me like that, but thank you. That means a lot. And that's a wrap for today's episode with Holly Fitzgerald for Agent X Factor. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but we'll catch you next time on our podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye now.